we're back to our Soulful Afro show tribute to Prince. And, I was in DC when I heard the news, and I was like, why is everybody texting me? And why am I, getting so many calls? And then someone very dear to me was like, are you going to have a break soon? Who knew I was a huge Prince fan? And then he told me, and I was still in shock. I didn't want to read anything, didn't want to sort of take it all in. I was sort of like struck. And then Robin, who is a Soulful Afro family member, has been on the show, a very dear friend, actually sending her light and love. She's going through a family loss right now, but she was going to be joining me because there's me and then there's Robin, who are huge Prince fans. One New Year's Eve, that's what we ended up doing, was watching Purple Rain. So, and Mala, you're still here with me in light. And then we both cried. And then I sat back, and one of the things that I wrote on the Soulful Afro page is that he rearranged how I listened to music, how I danced to it, and how I looked at it. And this song that I'm about to play a bit of was my first introduction to him, 1979, elementary school. Who is this guy? So fluid in his visualization of being a man, a woman, the fluidity, the embracing of it, the sexiness of it. So this was my first favorite Prince song. So I'll play a little bit of it. So that's my first Prince favorite song. And, it's so funny because we were planning the show today, and he's blocked a lot of his stuff, even though I have all of his stuff already. But to get it online, it's been blocked a lot. But we're still here. One of the articles that there's been many things. There's been many tributes, but I have a flow that I'm hoping to follow today. And Dave Chappelle did an interview. There's people that pass, and then you're like, oh, but then when you're a Prince fan, you're a Prince fan. I mean, for life. Like, this is a lifelong thing. From 1979, it's been Prince. I've had, Michael was just as big for me, but he wrote, he said, Prince's death was the Black 9/11, and it's so much better that we grieve together. And today is about grieving, but it's about celebrating him too. When Dave Chappelle had his show, they would play a lot of Prince songs, and he would share a lot of his encounters. And he said this at the end of this article. He said, "Nothing of this world will begin to fill the void of his absence except his memory." And that's literally all I've been doing since Friday, coming back from DC, basically, coming into, and I'm going at it till tomorrow, because tomorrow will mark a week. But it's about celebrating the artist, the artist, his lyrics. Like, he would have all these songs, and there was this one lyric, the one I started with Diamonds and Pearls, I want to be your lover. He would have, I want to be the only one that makes you come, running. Like, that's the kind of love you want, someone that's going to be running for you. So he had these really profound lyrics. And for some of us who became fans at a very young age, you actually grew up and understood a sense of sexual freedom that he had, that you had to sort of understand too, because he spoke very openly about what he wanted and what he didn't want, and and sort of that mature ness of it. But one of the things that has come out is, there's another article that I really liked, and I printed a couple of these, The Politics of Prince by Jason Johnson. And the heading said he played up his ambiguity when it came to sexuality and race, but he loved his blackness and his black people. And that's something that I always felt that he showed. And I know you were saying that there was a sense that he was accepted into white mainstream in a different way than other black artists. But at the same time, when he got in, he also reminded them of his blackness. But he played, he was a Jehovah, but he definitely played a role in a champion of sectionality, of not being boxed in. He wasn't this one style kind of musician. And he said something in the Tabitha Smiley interview that he has such loyal fans that even when he switched up away from your Purple Rain or your Raspberry Beret or something, you still wanted to hear his stuff. He when he went through the artists known as Prince, he was fighting the labels. And you see a lot of artists now doing that. And actually it's because of that a lot of his stuff is not online, because he didn't necessarily agree with how downloading was, what it was doing to his music or to music. But then, in the recent years, I wanted to just play this short piece. He's also always been very political, and a lot of people never recognized that in him. He was about LGBT issues. He definitely did the last few years around the Black Lives Matter. He did the song Baltimore. He did a concert in Baltimore. He was already sort of pushing buttons. Like he embraced controversy. This article by John Nichols, it says Prince recognized that if there ain't no justice, then there ain't no peace. And he had embraced controversy and sometimes inspired it. Tipper Gore had formed her music labeling group, the Parents Music Resource Center, after she found out that her 12-year-old daughter, Karina, listening to a song titled Nikki, which was pretty racy. So he broke down barriers, made demands, and opened up dialogues in ways that changed lives. And I know he was one of them that changed mine and how I listened and wrote. There was an honesty that landed in his music that you couldn't, it wasn't about, is he telling the story? Is someone telling the story? But it was just a story that landed on you. And he controlled his own career, which a lot of people don't do. But this was one of his recent outings when it came to the announcing the album of the year recently at one of the awards show. And he was sort of like, yeah, let me make my position very clear. And not only by doing the concert, albums, this is him. Still matter. Like books and Black Lives, albums still matter. Tonight, so that alone, that short piece was huge because he stood there in front and he talked about Black Lives Matter. With the Freddie Gray thing, that's when he said, if there ain't no justice, then there ain't no peace. But he said this on May 10th, 2015, when he appeared in Baltimore to perform the song as part of his rally for peace. He told the crowd, the system is broken. It's going to take the young people to fix it this time. We need new ideas. So he was already sort of challenging us to think differently, to go about it differently. And he didn't have to like announce it and boast about it to everybody. He did it in his own way, that made you still pay attention. So I'm going to take another break, but as you know, half of his songs that we want to play, they blocked, good doing on his part, his family's part, to be preserving his music in that way. But I'm trying to. Hassan, do you have a Prince favorite? Or were you a fan?
Oh yeah, I was a big fan. Purple Rain was always my favorite. Purple Rain. That one was when I first came to this. I came in 1986, and I saw him and I saw Michael Jackson, and
I saw both of them in concert. Amazing.
His musically styles, and then Michael Jackson's dance, and it was incredible to see these two talented individuals.
Yeah.
Playing the role like that.
So this is another favorite. So let's listen to a short piece of it. Looking for time and it's done. Us was mistaken. Don't say trying to do like this time. That's when I saw her. She was thinking last baby. So that's a favorite. And the dancing in that video was the bomb. It was like literally when you saw, it wasn't just about, it was the music, it was the movement, it was his getup, it was his dancing, it was everything all coming together. Another one that he did was his collaborations with different people, and he did one with Lenny Kravitz, American Woman. That's a really great one. When he did the recent Shaka Khan tribute, and Shaka Khan is actually, it came out that is one of his closest of friends. They've collaborated a lot together, and she did a couple of remakes of his songs. But that's one of the favorites. And then when you think about some of the songs that people may not realize that were somewhat political in time, this one that I'm going to play a little bit of was a one that stood out in that way. Because the lyrics spoke about a reality of our times that always stood out for me. So let me fast forward it on. Because this one, Jackson's girlfriend came across me, let's see what she did say. I
home, that's up to you. On board the different. Being getting called the disciples high on crack. That's on a machine gun. Hurricane out of it, seated on the church field. Everyone's you're telling you never ever slow yourself.
So that's the sign of times, and he talks about what is happening,
Right.
and I love that. So it wasn't just let's party. That we made you dance to it, but then if you really were paying attention to all of what he was presenting, then you pause to listen to his lyrics. So I want to play one more thing, and then I'm gonna cover one of my favorite moments in sort of reflecting and going back is looking back at this interview that he did with Tavis Smiley. So let me. This is him playing, but I want to have folks here.
We have the absolute most diverse audience of any artist, no pun intended, that I've ever hung out with or experienced in concert consistently. What is it about you, about your music? I mean, I've seen the black and the white thing and the Motown thing and the black folk and the white folk listening, but you have the most ethnically, culturally, racially diverse audience, I think, of any artist on the scene. Why you?
I think from the beginning, as I was coming into my own persona and understanding of who I was, I never talked down to my audience. Mm-hmm. And when you don't talk down to your audience, then they can grow with you. And I give them a lot of credit to be able to hang with me this long, because they've gone through a lot of changes. But they've allowed me to grow, and plus we can tackle some serious subjects and try to just be better human beings, all of us.
The other thing that strikes me about your audience that's uniquely different is that your audience is very musically sophisticated. It's one thing to love music. It's another thing to have an audience of fans that is really very sophisticated about music.
Yeah, a lot of people that come see us now, their parents listen to real music, real songwriting, real musicianship, and they respect somebody who takes their craft seriously. And I grew up that way, so when we do our shows, I try to have the best musicians I can find with me at that particular time. And like I said, we don't play down to them. We don't, we're just not. It's just not about a party. That's going to be anyway if it's good music. But you have to challenge them, and I think that's lacking in.
So that was, a song, an interview. But we're going to take a break. But I'm going to take you to the break with another favorite Prince song. So here is another one, and then we'll be right back. And we just lost it. And here it is.
What's the matter with someone? One thing bring me down. What's happening now? What's the matter with someone? With one woman girl.
Say you just don't care. Everybody wants to be on top. Oh, I can listen to all of it all day. Basically, that's all that I have been listening to for the past week. So pause the Prince tribute, even though the Prince tribute is still part of sort of the little bit of updates. So I was in DC, as I shared earlier. When I heard that he had passed away, I was in DC attending the Color of Wealth conference, and it was really, really good in the sense of, I mean, there's nothing that we don't know. We, Black and Latinos, are getting less bank loans, or living below the poverty level, or getting harder to own. We are the ones with more bad credit. Like, there's all these lists of things about what it means to be Black and Latino in this country now as it relates to economy, how we're seen, how we get loans, how we get credit. So there was a lot of conversation about this, a lot of disparities around the gentrification and the displacement issues. And there, it was a really nice flowing day summit. It was a summit. And in the midst of sort of sitting and listening to all of this, one of my interventions was, and this, of course, as being a National African American Reparations Commissioner, my mind is in that place. And, last week we spoke about Georgetown selling 272 slaves to save the school. And it's now coming out that basically a lot of institutions have been able to sustain themselves based on this past history. So sitting in the Capitol and you go around and you see these buildings and you know the history behind them, the slavery that it stands on, the stories, it's an issue of reparations. So my question was, at what point do you begin to use the term reparations as we ask for some of these spaces to become equal to us or for us? And only one person was able to sort of answer it directly. I think others were sort of trying to beat around it. Some folks feel that the issue of reparations is more of a moral piece, and to me, you can say it's a moral thing, but it's a legitimate thing, because, for instance, if Georgetown does have the names of some of these slaves and can make that deeper connection to some of their family members, so these folks should be able to get their kids into Georgetown University for free or something, It's not just about getting money, that it would be more than that, So those are some of the things that, I brought up in that conference. And then tomorrow, join me tomorrow, April 28th, 7 p.m. for a Black Chat. And this was brought to me by Tariana Little, who's a scholar artist, young sister doing some great things. And it's basically to hang out with Afro-Latinas who are taking their arts and their activism online. And it's hosted by Be Visible, and it's Be Visible is a national platform and career community that helps Latinx millennials network both in real life and online. It focuses on mentorship, fostering lasting connections, and giving all community members a platform to be seen. So tomorrow is Amanda Alcantara, who does Radical Latina, Janelle Martinez, who does Anti-Latina, and myself, the founder and director of Encuentro Diaspora Afro. So you can check out www.bevisible.soy. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So today, since I was doing a tribute to Prince, we didn't do a finishers formal segment, no finishers formal interview, but it's always a finishers segment. We had our spring classic on Sunday. The weather, it was a lot colder than they said it was gonna be. So I didn't feel like I was layered enough. There was way bigger than I thought it would be. And the streets were not completely vacated for the runners. So you were running with cars moving, buses moving. So it was an interesting race. You know, we didn't even know like where the start line was. So I started tracking my time a bit late. But we're finishers. We had a great time. We had only about 13 or 14 of us run this race. But it was a great turnout. I think everyone did well. For me, I did well, but it wasn't the race to time myself because it was so crowded and there were walkers and runners. So I kept going in and out of folks. But you know, we still did it finisher style. We ended up, you know, there was a picture of us in the group after we were done. We ended up all hanging out together as we do. The great thing about it is we literally, I mean, it sounds like easy, but we literally all stay there until the last person crosses the finish line. So, taking from the posting from Brother Jason today, our next big stop is the Run to Remember race, which is the Boston Police Department and Boston Police Runners Club to their 12th running of the Boston Run to Remember on Sunday, May 29th. And currently we are 32, possibly 33 finishers. And these are the folks who are currently committed to getting it done next month. So Tosh is running 5 miles, Renee is running the 5 miler, Ellen is running the 5 miler, Tanisha is running the 5 mile, Alicia is running the 5 mile, Holly 5, Jessica 5, Clinton 5, Keith 5, Carol 5, Lillian 5, Natasha 5, Jen 5, Jennifer 13, Lou 13, Manny 13, Jason 13, Coleman 13, Sticks 13, Banks 13, Dwayne 13, Mayfield 13, Bruce 13, and then Pat, who was on the show, half of the folks have been on the show, 13, Raza 13, Aaron 13, Rudy 13, Kashay 13, Tammy 13, Colleen 13, Lindsay 13, and Yvette 13.
Okay.
So, I'm doing the half marathon.
That's good.
So from yesterday on, or after I recover from this cold completely, we are in full Run to Remember training. So finishers, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do our thing. We're gonna do it our way, and no one is moving until the last finisher passes. We don't care how long it takes, but we're going to get it done. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back to close out our Soulful Afro tribute to Prince.